morning everyone. In our previous video of the Tempest Act 2 Scene 1, we have discussed till lines 100. We discussed how Alonso, Antonio, Sebastian and other courtiers have been brought by Ariel on the other part of the island. We also discussed how Gonzalo tried to cheer up Alonso but in vain. Now in this video, we'll discuss from lines 101 till 170. So by the end of this video, you will be able to learn the explanation of lines 101 till 170 and you will be able to learn the references and literary devices of the lines 101 till 170. Let us quickly discuss the lines 101 till 109. Gonzalo, when I wore it at your daughter's marriage. It is being referred to jacket. So Gonzalo asks if his jacket is not fresher than the day he wore it at Alonso's daughter, that is Claribel's marriage. Alonso, you cram these words into mine ears against the stomach of my sense. Cram means thrust. The stomach of my sense. It is personification. And what is the meaning of my sense? My sense means my inclination or my wish. So Alonso replies that Gonzalo is forcing these words into his ears and making him listen to them against his will, just as he would cram food into a stomach that does not want any. It means he does not wish to be reminded of his daughter's marriage, which Gonzalo is forcing into his ears. You cram those words into mine ears against the stomach of my sense. It is a metaphor. So forcefully putting words into ears against the wish of the listener here has been compared to forcefully putting food into stomach. Would I had never married my daughter there for coming thence. My son is lost, and in my opinion, she too, who is so far from Italy, removed. I never again shall see her. So, what is the meaning of would? Would means wish. In my rate means in my opinion. Now, children, Alonso wishes that he had not got his daughter married there at Tunis. For on his way back, he has lost his son, and Claribel too is lost according to him, because she is so far away from Italy that he cannot expect to see her again. O thou mine heir of Naples and of Milan, what strange fish hath made his meal on thee? Now children, what is the meaning of mine heir? It means Ferdinand. Hath made his meal on thee means has swallowed you. So children, Alonso remembers Ferdinand, the heir of Naples and Milan, and wonders what strange fish has made a meal of Ferdinand. Let us now read the gist of the lines. Gonzalo talks about the jacket that he wore on Alonso's daughter's wedding, looking fresher than before. Alonso says to Gonzalo that Gonzalo keeps cramming words into his ears that he does not want to hear. He wishes that wedding had never happened, since he lost his son because of it, and he lost his daughter too, in way since he would never see her again. He remembers Ferdinand, his dear son, and heir of Naples and Milan. He wonders what strange fish has made a meal of Ferdinand. Let us now read the lines 110 till 118. Francisco, sir, he may live. I saw him beat the surges under him and ride upon their backs. He trod the water, whose enmity he flung aside, and breasted the surge most swollen that met him. Now children, Francisco is another courtier. What is the meaning of surges? Surges means waves. Trod means walked. Breasted means battled. So Francisco tries to cheer up Alonso and says that Ferdinand may be alive as he saw him successfully keeping afloat, parting the waves with his arms and swimming upon their crest, and opposed the efforts of the waves to submerge him. He used his legs to keep afloat and swim through the water towards the land, flinging aside the waves with the backward sweep of his arm and meeting the largest waves with his chest. His bold head above the contentious waves he kept and oared himself with his good arms in lusty stroke to the shore that over his wave-worn bases bowed, as stooping to relieve him. Now children, what is the meaning of contentious? It means angry. Oared means propelled as with an oar. Lusty means powerful. Stooping means bending. And relieve means aid. So Francisco further says that Ferdinand kept his head above the struggling waves and propelled himself with arms as oars, and swimming vigorously to the shore, which seemed to endeavor by sloping down to the waters to save him. I not doubt he came alive to land. Francisco says that he has no doubt that Ferdinand had come ashore alive. Let us read the gist of the lines. Francisco says that Ferdinand may be alive. He saw him swimming strongly, almost as if he was riding the waves. He treaded water and kept his head well above the wild waters coming at him, swimming with his strong arms toward the shore, which almost seemed eager to welcome him. He has no doubt that Ferdinand got ashore alive. Let us read the lines from 119 till 130. Alonso, no, he is gone. So Alonso disagrees with Francisco and says that Ferdinand is gone forever. Sebastian, sir, you may thank yourself for this great loss that would not bless our Europe with your daughter, but rather lose her to an African. The children, what is the meaning of thank yourself? Means blame yourself. So children, Sebastian agrees with Alonso and says that Alonso has none to blame but himself for the great loss that he has inflicted upon him by not getting his daughter married to a European, but rather giving her away in marriage to an African. He has lost her owing to the vast distance that separates Naples from Tunis, where she at least is banished from your eye, who hath cause to wet the grief on it. The children, what is the meaning of banished? It means exiled. And cause to wet the grief on it means reason to shed tears of grief. So Claribel being almost a permanent exile from Alonso, he has now a cause to shed tears of grief. Alonso, prithee, peace. Prithee means pray. So Alonso requests Sebastian to not to say anything more. Sebastian, you were kneeled to and importuned otherwise by all of us. The children, what is the meaning of importuned? It means requested. Otherwise means begged to act differently. So Sebastian says that every one of them, bending knees, strongly urged Alonso to act in a different way. And the fair soul herself weighed between loathness and obedience at which end of the beam should bow. Children, what is the meaning of fair soul? It means king's daughter. Loathness means unwillingness. And end of the beam should bow, didn't know which side to bend. Now children, you can see beam and bow alliteration is used with the word beam and bow. Now he further says that his own daughter that is Alonso's own daughter, Claribel, wavered long between reluctance to go and desire to obey Alonso, and weighed in her own mind whether to follow her own wish or her father's command. We have lost your son, I fear, forever. Now Sebastian further says that he fears that they have lost Alonso's son Ferdinand forever. Milan and Naples more widows in them of this business making than we bring men to comfort them. The fault's yours own. Children, what is the meaning of this business making? It means by this act. Bring means to have. Now he concludes that the result of this marriage affair is that more men have been drowned than have been saved. And consequently, there are more widows in Naples and Milan than the men they will carry back to cheer their hearts. He blames Alonso and says that the fault is only his. Let us read the gist of the lines. Alonso disagrees with Francisco and says that Ferdinand is dead. Sebastian blames Alonso for this and says that he can thank himself for this great loss because he wouldn't bless Europe with his daughter, but instead got her married to an African. Now she is far away from his eyes, which has now become a cause to shed tears of grief. Alonso requests him to be quiet. Sebastian continues that they all begged Alonso not to go ahead with those marriage plans, and his lovely daughter struggled between reluctance to marry an African and the desire to obey Alonso. He says that now he is afraid that they have lost Alonso's son forever. Their shipwreck has made more women widows in Milan and Naples than there are survivors to comfort them, and it's all Alonso's fault. Let us now read lines 131 till 140. Alonso, so is the dearest of the loss. Now children, what is the meaning of dearest? It means heaviest. So Alonso says if he is the most to be blamed, he has also been the worst to suffer, as he has lost both his son and his daughter. Gonzalo, my lord Sebastian, the truth you speak doth lack some gentleness and time to speak it in. Now children, Gonzalo administers a dignified rebuke to Sebastian and says that the truth he is telling is brutally told, and it is not the reasonable time to tell that. You rub the sore when you should bring the plaster. What is the meaning of rub the sore? It means make it more painful. Plaster means balm or something soothing. So Gonzalo says that Sebastian, by saying all this, is irritating the wound by rubbing it, when it should be his business to soothe it. Sebastian, very well. The children, Sebastian ironically says very well, which means I admit. So Sebastian ironically replies that he admits. Antonio, and most chirurgeonly. Chirurgeonly, children, it means like a true surgeon. So Antonio contemptuously says that Sebastian does it just like an experienced surgeon, or just like a true surgeon. Gonzalo to Alonso, it is foul weather in us all, good sir, when you are cloudy. Now, for gloom of the spirits is a metaphor. Now Gonzalo says to Alonso that when he is gloomy or cloudy, he is casting a gloom upon them. Sebastian, foul weather. Foul weather, children, means bad time. So Sebastian looks up at the clear sky and mockingly asks if Gonzalo means foul weather. Antonio, very foul. Antonio ironically answers, very foul weather indeed. Gonzalo, had I plantation of this isle, my lord? Plantation, children, it means right to colonize. Isle refers to island. Gonzalo now tries the idea of colonization to comfort Alonso. He says that if he had the task of planting a colony in his island, then Antonio, he would sow it with nettle seed. Now children, what are nettle seeds? Nettles are useless, stinging weeds which sensible cultivators are anxious to get rid of. Before Gonzalo could complete the sentence, Antonio, catching up the word plantation in the sense of planting out a garden, says that Gonzalo would plant stinging shrubs in it. Sebastian, or dogs or mallows. Now what are dogs or mallows? They are also roadside unwanted weeds. Making fun of Gonzalo, Sebastian says that Gonzalo can even plant common wayside or roadside weeds. Let us now read the gist of the lines. Gonzalo rebukes Sebastian and says that even though what he says is true, his way of saying is tactless and comes at the wrong time. He is rubbing salt in Alonso's wounds when he should be applying bandages. Sebastian agrees and says that he'll stop. Antonio says that just like an experienced surgeon. Gonzalo says to Alonso that it's bad times for all of them when he is feeling gloomy. Sebastian asks if it were bad times. Antonio says that it were very bad. Gonzalo says to Alonso that if he could colonize his island. Now before he could complete his sentence, Antonio says that Gonzalo would cultivate weeds on it. Sebastian says, or Gonzalo would cultivate thorn bushes. Let us now read lines 141 till 153. Gonzalo, and were the king on it, what would I do? Now Gonzalo asks Alonso if he himself were the king on the island, what would he do then? Sebastian, escape being drunk for want of wine. Now, children, what is the meaning of want of? It means lack of. Sebastian replies that Gonzalo would only abstain from wine as there is no wine. Gonzalo, in the Commonwealth, I would by contraries execute all things, for no kind of traffic would I admit, no name of magistrate. Now children, what is the meaning of contraries? Means opposite to present time. No name of magistrate means no such office as magistrate. The children, this entire stanza is very, very important. It is about the Commonwealth of Gonzalo. So Gonzalo again tries to divert Alonso's attention. So children, what is the meaning of contraries? It means opposite to present time. No name of magistrate means no such office as magistrate. Now Gonzalo tries to divert Alonso's grief and says that in his Commonwealth, he would arrange his government of the state in entirely opposite to the methods usually adopted. It should be a nation where he would introduce no trade of any kind and no name of magistrate. Letters should not be known, riches, poverty and use of service, none. Now, children, what is the meaning of letters? Means learning or education from books. Use of service means utilizing services of other people. So Gonzalo continues and says that there would be no knowledge of letters. It should be a nation that has no riches or poverty. There would be no service. There would be no contract, no succession. Bond, bound of land, tilth, vineyard, none. Bond, children, means limit and tilth means cultivation. So he says there'll be no partition or no limits. That means no boundary of land. There should be no cultivation and no growing of grapes. No use of metal, corn or wine or oil. No occupation. He further says that there would be no use of metal, corn, wine or oil. There would be no occupation. All men idle, all women too, but innocent and pure. Now children, what is the meaning of innocent and pure? It means sinless. He further says that all men would be idle, all women too would be idle, but innocent and pure. No sovereignty. Sovereignty, children, means the rule of king. So Gonzalo says that there would be no exercise of a superior authority. Sebastian, yet he would be king on it. So Sebastian interrupts Gonzalo that he has begun with that he would be the king and has ended with no king. He says that yet Gonzalo would be a king. Let us read the gist of the lines. Gonzalo again continues and asks Alonso to guess what he would do if he were the king of the island. Sebastian says that Gonzalo wouldn't get drunk much since there is no wine. Gonzalo says that in his kingdom he would do everything differently from the way it's usually done. He wouldn't allow any commerce. There wouldn't be any officials or administrators. There would be no schooling or literature. There would be no riches, no poverty, and no servants. No contracts or inheritance laws. No division of land into private farms. No metal, working, agriculture, or vineyards. There would be no work. Men would have nothing to do, and women also. But they would be innocent and pure. There would be no kingship. Sebastian says that Gonzalo wants to be king in a place with no kingship. Let us read the lines from 154 till 170. Antonio, the latter end of his commonwealth, forgets the beginning. Antonio says that the conclusion about Gonzalo's commonwealth, that is, no king, contradicts with what he has said in the beginning. Gonzalo, all things in common nature should produce without sweat or endeavor. Now children, what is the meaning of in common? It means for all the use of common people or for the common use of all. Now here nature has been personified. Also it is a metaphor because nature has been compared to a lady. Now children, what is the meaning of endeavor? It means effort. Gonzalo again continues and says that nature should be left to produce everything for the use of all alike, without sweat or laborious effort on the part of men. Here nature has been personified and is compared to a lady using a metaphor. Treason, felony, sword, pike, knife, gun, or need of any engine would I not have. So children, what is the meaning of treason? It means treachery. Felony means crime. Pike means spears. Engine, machine or instrument of war. So he says that treason, robbery, sword, pike, dagger, gun or any instrument of war would be banned in his commonwealth. But nature should bring forth of its own kind all fusion, all abundance to feed my innocent people. Of its own kind, children, it means by its own work. Fusion has been taken from the word foison, which is a French word. It also means plenty. Abundance is plenty again. So he says that nature should produce of itself all plenty, all superfluity, so that his innocent people might not starve under the scarcity of food. Sebastian, no marrying his subjects? Among children means among. So Sebastian asks Gonzalo if there would be no marriage among the subjects. Antonio, none men, all idle, whores and knaves. Now Antonio uses a pun. He says all idle. Now Gonzalo means to say that they'll have no work. And according to Antonio, idle means worthless. Whores means prostitutes. And knaves means villains. So Antonio, quoting Gonzalo's own words against himself and punning on the word idle, which also means worthless, says that there would be no marriage. All will be worthless. All women will be whores and men will be villains. Gonzalo, I would with such perfection govern, sir, to excel the golden age. The children, let us see the reference of golden age. Mythology of ancient classics holds that in remote past there existed an ideal state of mankind where sin and misery had not yet come into the world. This they called the golden age, the age where Saturn, the Roman god of agriculture, reigned in Italy. It was followed by inferior ages of brass, iron, etc. Now children, Gonzalo remains indifferent to the taunts of Antonio and Sebastian. He says that he would govern with such perfection as to excel the golden age in the matter of happiness. Sebastian, save his majesty. Ironical. Now Sebastian ironically says, save the majesty. That means Sebastian ironically remarks that God save his majesty. Here, his majesty is being referred to Gonzalo. Antonio, long live Gonzalo. So Antonio too mocks and says, may Gonzalo live long. Gonzalo, and do you mark me, sir? The children, what is the meaning of mark me? It means listen to me. So Gonzalo addresses Alonso, whom he wants to divert from the grief he has. He asks Alonso if he is paying attention to what Gonzalo is saying. Alonso, prithee, no more. Thou dost talk nothing to me. Children, what is the meaning of nothing? Means nonsense. So Alonso requests him to stop as he is talking nonsense. Gonzalo, I do well believe your highness, and did it to minister occasion to these gentlemen who are of such sensible and nimble lungs that they always use to laugh at nothing. The children, let us see the meaning of minister. It means provide. These gentlemen, Sebastian and Antonio, sensible and nimble lungs, easily moved to laughter. Now Gonzalo replies to Alonso that he is well aware that he is speaking an infinite deal of nothing to him, and he did all the nonsensical talking in order to give an opportunity to Antonio and Sebastian, whose lungs are so sensitive and so ready that it is their nature to laugh at everything and nothing alike. Let us read the gist of the lines now. Antonio agrees to Sebastian and says that Gonzalo is getting a bit confused. Gonzalo says that everything would be produced without labor and would be shared by all. There would be no treason, crimes or weapons. Nature would produce her harvest in abundance to feed her innocent people. Sebastian asks if there would be no marriage. Antonio replies with a no. He says that everyone would have nothing to do. They would all be whores and villains. Gonzalo says that he would rule so perfectly that his country would outshine the golden age they had in ancient times. Sebastian mocks at Gonzalo and says, long live his majesty. Antonio too makes fun of Gonzalo and says, all hail Gonzalo. Gonzalo asks Alonso if he is listening to him. Alonso asks Gonzalo to be quiet as he is talking nonsense. Gonzalo replies that Alonso is absolutely right. He talked like that to give these gentlemen, Sebastian and Antonio, here a chance to have a good laugh. They love to laugh at empty words. Now children, that is all for the day today. Now for your homework, you will do extracts 3 and 4 with pen on workbook. Thank you.